Go.
Welcome, Shabbat Shalom. And Boker, we welcome you to this morning's teaching in Shemot, in the book of Exodus, chapter 19. Announcements for the week. First of all, please be in prayer for Norma Roy and her sister Sonia, family in the death of their father on Thursday morning. There was a service last night which we were privileged to speak to the family, and then there will be another service tonight that we are not involved in, but just if you didn't make it last night, you can go by and give your condolences to the family tonight at 7 o'clock. It's at Rudy Garza under the name Herrera, and then the funeral service will be at 2 o'clock. Well, is that 2 o'clock tomorrow?
Yes.
At 2 o'clock tomorrow at Rudy Garza Funeral Home. And the assembly is providing the meal after the cemetery service. Our assembly will be providing a meal for them, I think, at Norma's house. And
At Dad's house.
Huh?
At
the Dad's house. On 6th Street, okay? So, anyway, just letting you know what is going on there. Our classes are back on schedule. So Wednesday, advanced Hebrew and Tree of Life class at 7 o'clock, and Thursday, the beginners Hebrew at 7 o'clock. We will be having our Judaism 101 class this afternoon from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And so these are the things that are coming up. All right, the book of Shemot, the book of Exodus, chapter 19. So last week we spoke concerning this, reminding us again that this is a marriage contract. This is the ketubah between Hashem and Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel. This is the marriage contract. And so he's calling the people together, and he is requiring them to prepare themselves. So he wants them to wash and clean themselves up, to wash their clothes, put on new clothes if you would, and clean themselves up before they meet together, before he comes to them, before they come to him. And this is where we ended up last week, which is verse 10, and we'll go back in just a minute, we'll go back to verse 9, but where we ended up last week, he says, "Go to the people, prepare them today and tomorrow, and they shall wash their garments." And so where we ended up last week was speaking to this, that we come to God for the cleansing, for the washing, for the forgiveness of our sin, our mistakes, our wrongdoings. As David Hamelech wrote in Psalm 51, "Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be whiter than snow." As Yohanan says in his letter, the book of 1 John, chapter 1 and verse 9, he says, "If we confess our sin, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sin and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness." Then he continues on to say that he who says he has no sin is a liar and the truth is not in him. Why? As Rav Shaul tells us in the book of Romans, for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. There are many ways to sin. The two greatest divisions of sin, I suppose, would be those sins of intent and those sins not of intent. Those sins of understanding and those sins of not understanding. Saying, there are sins which we knowingly and purposefully do. Then there are sins which we commit, errors which we commit because we do not know, because we do not understand. For example, if I'm driving down the highway and there's a speed limit sign and it says speed limit 60 mph, miles per hour. Speed limit 60. I know perfectly well what this means. If I exceed that speed and go 65 or 70, is that not a purposeful, intentional disobedience of a law? Yes, it is. Now, if I am on a highway and there has been no speed limit marker posted, this does not mean that that highway does not have a speed. Every road and highway in the state of Texas has a speed limit issued to it by the Department of Transportation. When I'm driving around here in town, every time I turn on the street, there is not necessarily a speed limit posted. And not all of these streets are marked the same. Some streets are marked 35, some are 40, some are 45. There is even a few where the marking is 50. Some are 30, and there are a few which are 20. So I do not always know if it is not clearly marked and clearly posted. I do not always know. And I may be out on a highway and I do not know what the speed limit is on that road. Perhaps the speed limit on that road is 45 and I'm going 55 because I have assumed it's 55. The road looks wide enough to me. There's not much traffic. And so I'm going 55. Am I still breaking the law? If the speed limit on the road is 45 and I'm going 55, even though the sign is not marked, even though it is not posted, am I still breaking the law? Yes. The answer is yes. But what? It is unintentional. I'm not meaning to break the law. I'm not doing it on purpose. I just do not know. So this is what we're saying. There are sins that are intentional, and there are sins that we commit that are unintentional, but they are sin nonetheless. This is what Rav Shaul speaks to in the book of Romans when he says that if it were not for Torah, I would not know what is sin. Because the Torah tells me what is right and what is wrong. What is sin? What is the definition of sin? Sin is to miss the mark. It means, the word for sin is Torahlessness, lawlessness. Once again, in the book of 1 John, he gives us the definition of sin, the definition of sin, which is sin. He says sin, that lawlessness is sin. Sin is lawlessness. That is, disobedience to Torah. Now when it comes to the debate as to whether Torah is for today or not for today, how many of your parents gave you instructions and then said to you, I give you permission to disobey me? Your parents ever say that to you? Mine never said that to me. My dad never said, I want you to do the dishes this afternoon, but feel free to disobey me. It doesn't work. It does not wash. Torah is Torah. And as Yeshua himself says in Matthew chapter 5, he said, heaven and earth may pass away, but Torah abides forever. He said, not one yud, not one crownlet of the letter will pass away. He said, do not think that I have come to do away with the law. I have not come to abolish it. I have come to bring out its truth, to fulfill it, to bring it alive. And he is, in fact, the living Torah. Perfect in every way. And so we have those sins that we commit. We all sin every day. Some intentionally and some unintentionally, but sin nonetheless. And these are the things which we are supposed to confess. And so David HaMelech, David the king, even in the Tehillim, in the Psalms, speaks to that, asking God to forgive him for the unknown sin, for the sin that he has committed which he does not know he has committed. But here, God tells Moshe to tell the people that they shall wash their garments. Not that he shall wash them, but that they shall wash them. Saying what? Once a person has come to faith, come to trust in Yeshua, does this mean that our lives are now perfect?
No.
No. How many of us, even after coming to faith in Yeshua, even after coming to Messianicism, coming to accept Torah as our means, our lifestyle, how many of us still have bad habits? This is to which he speaks. Wash yourself. You know what's going on in your life. You know what's there. Who knows you better than you, other than God himself? You know what your triggers are. You know what sets you up. You know what sets you up. You know, setting up for the fall. You know what these things are. I know what my habits are. I know what's going on in my head and in my heart. Frequently, there are those in Christianity, those in evangelicalism, that are so afraid of being accused of salvation by works that they throw out the entire works option, lest we be seen as seeking salvation by works. I believe the words of Rav Shaul, of the Apostle Paul, and I believe the words that he writes in the book of Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8 and 9. For by grace you are saved through emunah, through your trust. Not of yourselves. You cannot save yourself. Why can I not save myself? Because everything I do, even that good which I do, is tainted by wrongdoing. Intentional or unintentional. As the prophet Isaiah says, Isaiah, that even our good works have become as filthy rags. What does he mean? That everything I do, because I am an imperfect human being, everything I do is imperfect and tainted by that imperfection. And this is what it means when it says, for all have sinned and fallen short of the kavod, of the glory of God, of the expectation of the requirements of God. God is the measurement. God is the ruler. Torah is the measurement. Torah is the ruler. And we all fall short. In everything that we do, we fall short. We are imperfect. There's nothing that I do perfectly well. For who is perfect? Nobody. Hashem alone is perfect. God himself alone is perfect. And there's none other who is perfect as he. So when I lay myself down along the ruler, beside the ruler of his requirements and expectations of us, which we find in Torah, what? I always fall short. Even when I do good, there is still evil within me, to which Rav Shaul speaks in Romans chapter 7. Even when I seek to do good, I still have the evil within me. So, saying what? We cannot save ourselves. There is no salvation within me. It takes someone from the outside to lift, to stretch out his hand and lift us up and pull us up. A person who has fallen into the river, the mighty raging torrent. Can this person save himself, or does it take someone else outside of the river to lift him up? And so it is. I cannot save myself. And so this is what he means. For by grace are we saved through emunah, and not of yourself. It is a gift of God. Not by works, so that no man can boast. You see, if I could save myself, then I could tell you, I saved myself. I'm in no need of a Savior. I did it myself. I could say, I'm in no need of help. I did it myself, but this, per Hashem himself, gives room to arrogance and pride. The truth is this, no matter how good or how evil we think that we are, we consider ourselves to be, we are all still sinful people. The truth is this, no matter how good or how sinful we consider ourselves and others to be, we are all still in the same boat, and the boat is sinking, and we need someone to rescue us. But once that event has occurred, he cleanses us through the blood of Yeshua. We are washed and made clean. Does this mean that we never do anything wrong again?
I wish.
You wish, as well as I. I long for Olam Chaba. I long for the world to come, the age to come, when we don't commit any more wickedness or sin or disobedience, knowing or unknowing. But today, as we frequently teach, we have the duality of the nefesh hashamayim, the spiritual instinct, the instinct for God and the instinct for heaven that desires to do right, as well as having the nefesh bechama, the animal instinct, the physical, natural instinct, as what Rav Shaul calls in in Romans, the natural man. What is called the flesh. The Chazal, the sages teach us that these two instincts within us are constantly at odds with each other, that they're constantly in a battle. And Rav Shaul concurs to this in the book of Romans chapter 7. When he says that when I would do good, I find that I do not do good. That the evil inclination is still within me. He says those things that I would do, I find I do not do. And those things which I would not do, those are the things I find I'm doing. He says, therefore I find a war going on within myself. The natural against the spiritual. The physical against the spiritual. The flesh against the spirit. He says, oh, wretched man that I am, who can save me from this conflict? And he says, but thanks be to God who gives us victory through Yeshua Mashiach. So we're saying this. People want God to do everything for them, as though they are a baby. A little tiny baby has no control. Absolutely no control. Everything is regimented. And his bodily functions happen when they happen. Correct? We've changed enough diapers. I have a rule for my children concerning my grandchildren. I changed all of their diapers. It's their turn. So I don't change the grandbaby's diapers. That's the parent's responsibility. I did my share. Now, if I'm all alone and the baby finds himself in trouble, that's a whole different story, no? Solution. I don't ever find myself alone with the grandchildren. The baby cannot help this. It has not learned, and it has not been trained. Do we leave the baby in that circumstance, in that situation? Do we leave the baby with that minimal understanding, or do we, what is called, potty train the child to learn to use the facilities? And we get so excited when they do it on their own, but their first time, right? It's a big party. Everybody, I see these young parents on Facebook. Oh, my child went to potty for the first time by themselves. Yay! But it is a learning process, no? Are they consistent with it? No. But they will learn. They will learn that they do not like sitting in dirty clothes. The same is true with eating, correct? It's not too far into the development of a child where they move from mother's breast to bottle to being able to have a bowl sitting in front of them and they're able to stick their hand in the bowl and grasp the cereal. Where they're able to start picking up a spoon and a fork. So that within a few years, they're actually quite talented. It's not perfect at first. They get food all over their face and their hair everywhere, throw it on the floor. But eventually, they come to understand. This is the way it is in our development, in our developmental relationship with God, that He does not expect us to remain undeveloped in where we started out. He expects us to move and to grow. Because if you have an 8-year-old child who is still wearing diapers, there is a problem. If you have an 8-year-old child who still is unable to feed himself and dress himself, there is a problem. If you have a 16-year-old or a 20-year-old, there is a problem, a developmental problem here. There are such people. And we pity them and we feel sorry for them. And for those who have to care for them. My 2 boys, Richard and Josh, these are their responsibilities at the school. They work with such children, such students that are unable to care for themselves. But this is not a good thing. This is a clear indicator that somewhere in the development, something went wrong. Applying that to our spiritual life, applying that to our developmental relationship with Hashem, we are saying that a person who has been a follower of Yeshua for any length of time, there should be some developmental process taking place, and if there's not, there's a problem. I speak to this frequently, and I continue to speak to it, that this is a great problem in the church and in the Messianic movement. That we have this idea, that there is this idea afoot that God is love and He's gracious and He's kind and He's forgiving, so we can live how we want to live and do what we choose to do, and there are no consequences because God loves me anyway. I'm His child. And this is the attitude of a baby who refuses to be potty trained. This is the attitude of a child who refuses to learn how to eat and how to drink and how to dress themselves. And this tells me that there is a developmental problem in the minds of many who claim to be followers of Jesus, who claim to be followers of Yeshua. There is a disconnect here. And the disconnect is this, that we decide we're going to leave everything to God. As far as my development is concerned, I leave everything to Him and I have nothing to do. I'm like a cork floating along in the stream. No means to give direction, no means to find direction or to head to one shore to the other shore. I'm just a cork floating in the stream. And this is the conceptualization of many people who claim to be followers of Yeshua, whether Christian or otherwise. That I have no control. Well, it's the baby who has no control over his bodily functions. And it is the baby believer who has no control over his spiritual life, over what's going on with him. This says that there is a developmental problem. Now, I grant you that the parent needs to teach the child about the bodily functions, and when it's time to go, that they need to understand that there are certain feelings that a person gets when they need to use the facilities, and so they come and they tell the parent that they need to use the restroom, that they need to go potty or what have you, and eventually what? But is it all up to the parent? or does the child need to make decisions on his own? Does the child need to come to an understanding? The child needs to develop, needs to grow, to understand that when I have a certain feeling, this means that a bodily function is going to take place. I need to let someone know so that I do not mess my clothes. To the point of what? That the child begins to take the initiative. First, the parent is taking the initiative, right? Asking every few moments, do you need to go potty? Do you need to go potty? Do you need to go potty? You start recognizing signs in your child that the pressure is building, and you ask, do you need to go potty? But it is not too long, it should not be too long before the child is taking the initiative and coming to the parent saying, I need to go potty. Now, with the parent's help, the child is able to use the restroom. It's not too long after that that the child is taking the initiative and doing what? Going in and using the restroom of the child's own accord. Not necessarily needing the parent so much now. And the older the child gets, the more developed the child gets, the more the child takes the initiative upon himself. To where? To what point? To the point that when the restroom is occupied and the child is needing to go, they will often do a little dance outside the door. How many of us have done the outside the door restroom dance? Saying what? I do not want to mess myself. And it is urgent. Now, what am I saying? Why are we talking about all of this? We're saying this. The same thing is true in your spiritual life, because you see, sin is the function of the body, so to speak. And there are people who are living like a baby who has no control over the bodily functions. There are people who call themselves followers of Jesus and followers of Yeshua, who call themselves believers, who call themselves Christians or whatever term, and yet they have no control over their function. This is all right for someone who is new, who is just born. It is not all right for someone who has been in the faith for some time. No more than it is all right for a 5 or a 6-year-old, or an 8-year-old, or a 16-year-old, or a 20-year-old. If I do not have control over my functions, then there is a disconnect somewhere. And you see, this is what we're saying. So many people leave these things up to God, and as though we want God to change us, and we don't need to take any initiative at all. We don't need to do anything. No. Even as the child must begin to take initiative over his bodily functions, so you and I need to learn to take initiative in the spiritual realm. To learn, first of all, to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. And then to learn to control myself in such situations and circumstances. This is why he says, wash your garments. He does not say, I will wash your garments, but he says, you wash your garments. Saying what? Look, you went out, you got yourself muddied up. Take care of that. Take care of it. Make the changes. You make the changes. Don't just sit there and ask God. Don't sit there and pray, God, change me. Well, what are you doing about it? It's like an 8-year-old child asking the parent to change their pants. No, the 8-year-old child can change his own pants. He knows what is necessary here. He knows what he needs. A 16-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 50-year-old, we all know how to change our clothes by this point. And if we do not, there is a serious problem. So he says, you do this. You see, there is that which is necessary for God to do. What is it that is necessary for God to do? It is necessary for God to bring us forth, to birth us. And when he has birthed us, John chapter 3, that it is necessary that we are born again. When God has birthed us as a new creation, as a new being, as what Rashal calls the new man, we learn from him. We begin to learn what it is that got us in trouble, that put us to death, that brought the sentence of death upon us. We begin to learn to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. What is it that God expects? What is it that God requires of us? And as we learn to begin to distinguish, we learn the warning signs, we learn to shy away from those situations and circumstances and places and such that are going to give us trouble. We learn to live by trust and confidence. We learn to live in obedience because we love God. And we want to be pleasing to him. This is me changing, washing my own garments, recognizing the bad habits that are within me, and disposing of those things. Oftentimes it's quite a struggle disposing of a bad habit. No? It's quite the struggle. And let's be honest, we all don't have the same bad habits. There are things which I struggle with which you have no struggle. There are things with which you struggle, with which I have no struggle. Because though we are all the same in some areas, we are all also different. Your weakness is not my weakness, and my weakness is not yours. Your strength is not my strength, and my strength is not. That's how we get along. That's how we work together. You've heard it said concerning couples that opposites attract. Why is it? Because one is strong in this area where one is weak, but the other is strong in this area where this one is weak. I have an unusual relationship with my wife, especially for down here, in many instances. Maybe not so much now, I don't know, but when I was growing up, yes. In that, my wife controls the bank account, not me. You say that you're the husband and the father, and he's supposed to be in control. Yes, but I'm not real good with money. It's a weakness that I have. I don't sit there and count my pennies. She's better at that than I am. That is her strength. Her strength is with numbers and such as that. My strength is with doing things like this. So where I'm more careful here, I'm not so careful there. My strengths and my weaknesses. And what? She fits me in that where I'm weak, she's strong. And where she's weak, I'm strong. So that we work together, holding each other up. This is the way the assembly works. We're all members of the body. We all don't have the same responsibilities. We don't all have the same strengths and weaknesses. But we're all working together. But what I'm saying this morning is this. If I am to be a mature believer, then I need to take an honest look at my life and my behavior and where I'm standing, what I'm doing, how I'm living my life. I need to make an honest assessment of where I am. I need to lay Torah down next to my life and make an assessment and say, okay, I need work in this area, I need work in this area, I need work in this area. And if one is to say, well, okay, so I'm not a mature Christian, I'm still a baby, then I'm going to say to you, you have a problem. Because one who has been born, not just recently, and is making no attempt to make progress and to grow and to mature, not taking the initiative upon themselves to do these things, there is a problem, there is a disconnect here. You do not understand what is required of you. You just want God to do everything for you. When I worked at the high school, they would call me from time to time to go speak to the band before they were going to go to contest. To give them a little pep talk. One of the things that I would ask them is this. I would ask the band, when you were practicing just now, were you practicing your absolute best, the way you would want to march a contest? And some of the students would look down to the ground. Did you do your best every single practice? Do your best, do your best, do your best, every practice, the way you would do it at a competition. Why? Because if I practice sloppily, I'm going to march sloppily at contests. But if I do the best I can at practice and I march to the best of my ability every run-through, every rehearsal, I'm doing it, I'm giving it my best, then when the day of competition comes, it will be my best. But then I would tell them this. There are times where my best is not sufficient. But here's the thing. Once I have done everything I can do, this is where God steps in and takes me to the finish. He does the rest. We are expecting God to do while I am yet able to do myself. What you are able to do for yourself, then do it. Then what you have done for yourself and nothing more can be done for yourself, this is where God steps in and takes you over the top. But if I'm being lazy about these things, and I'm just waiting for God to take me over the top without any intent of trying on my part, just expecting God to change me, do not be surprised when no action is taken. That is, He doesn't change you, and you find yourself still where you were. And you will find yourself tomorrow and next year and the year after that, and you are still where you were because you would not take the initiative upon yourself. Now, as we close, these things are important for us today. Why? Because he says, verse 11, they shall be prepared for the third day. Interesting use. And it is something that pops up in Scripture. So, for example, on what day did the whale vomit Yonah up onto the shore? On what day was that? It's not a trick question. How many days was Yonah in the belly of the whale? 3. So what day? What day? Here, Yonah, by the way, means dove. Here, Jonah, has been in this dark stomach, stench, acid, what have you. But on the third day, what? He sees the light at the end of the tunnel. What do you mean? The mouth opens up, and what does he see? In the darkness comes what? Shines the great light. And out he comes. And he is in effect born again. What do you mean he's born again? Well, the truth is this. He should have died. Should he not have died?
Yes.
He was as good as dead. Only the miraculous hand of God kept him from being digested by that whale. He was as good as dead. Thus, yes, Yonah had a new birth. What day did it occur? Third day. Yeshua Mashiach. He goes to his execution. He's put to death. How long is he in the tomb? What day is he resurrected? What day does he come back alive again? He says himself to the Talmudim, to the disciples, even as Yonah was in the belly of the whale 3 days and 3 nights, so shall the Son of Man be in the belly of the earth. In essence, Yeshua was rebirthed. The stone was rolled away. And in came the light of the morning of the first day of the week. He saw the light, literally, at the end of the tunnel. So, how many of you remember this scripture? That a day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is as a day. So we are taught that there are 6 days. How many days of creation? 6 days, and then the 7th day is. So a day, 1 day, is as 1,000 years. So 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, and then the 7th is what? Shabbat. Olam Haba, the world to come. The great Shabbat. Where are we? Well, it was 4,000 years. It was 4,000 years from creation to Yeshua. That's 4 days. 4,000 years. How many years has it been from Yeshua to where we stand now? Huh? To what? 2,000 years. 2,000 years from Yeshua to where we are today. So if it's 4 from creation to Yeshua, and now it's 2 from Yeshua to our present age, how many does this make?
6.
So we're very near to what? We're very near to what? The 7th day. We're very near to Shabbat. In Orthodox Judaism, on the 6th day, as the 6th day comes, there's this building to Shabbat. In fact, in Israel, much business shuts down at noon on Friday. Friday is the 6th day. Much business shuts down at noon on Friday. Why? Because everyone goes home to get ready for Shabbat, because Shabbat starts at sundown. And everything must be done because there's no work on Shabbat. So all the clothes, because in Orthodox communities, they dress like this on Shabbat. This is their Shabbat clothing. And they sit down to a formal meal with the family. So all of the clothes must be ready. The house must be cleaned and prepared. Everything done. All the food for Shabbat cooked ahead of time. Because there's no cooking on Shabbat. There's no preparation on Shabbat. So Friday is called the preparation day. Preparing for Shabbat. So where are we in time? What day, what 1,000 year are we in time? Come on people, what 1,000 year are we? 4 and 2 is? 6. We're in the 6,000 year, saying what? It's time to start preparing for the great Shabbat, when Mashiach comes and sets up his kingdom, and everything is restored as it was in the Garden of Eden. It's time to prepare. It's time to get ready. Rav Shalom tells us in the book of Romans that the night is far spent and the day is upon us. It is high time that we awake from our slumber and do that which we need to do in preparation. So Hashem tells the people here, to draw this all, to bring it to a close, Hashem tells the people here, they shall be prepared for the 3rd day. The 3rd day. For on the 3rd day the people will descend, the Lord Adonai will descend before the eyes of all the people. Adonai will come down on the 3rd day. So how many days do we say we have from Yeshua? How many days was Yeshua in the tomb? And he comes out on the 3rd day, in the midst of the 3rd day. Saying what? How many years did we say we were from Yeshua to our present age? From Yeshua to our present age. 2 days. 2,000 years. That's why we call this what? We're in 2017. 2017 years from the day of Yeshua. That's the counting. So we are 2017 years from Yeshua. Or what? Past 2 days, we are now entering into what? The 3rd day. Saying what? He said on the 3rd day, I will come down. Saying what? The day, the time of the coming of Mashiach is upon us. He says what? Wash your garments and be prepared for that day. For the third day. Saying what? When Mashiach comes, how do you want him to find you? Clean. And we are warned by the Shlachim, we are warned by the apostles in the Brit Chadashah that we are to clean ourselves, we are to wash our garments, that Mashiach, when he comes, when the groom comes for his bride, that he might find her without spot and without blemish, that she is clean and pure. It's your wedding day, bride. Who cleans you? Who bathes you? Who washes you? Do you not take this initiative upon yourself? Who prepares you for the meeting of your groom? You do. Say, there's something for me to do. We yet have work to do, so that Mashiach, when he comes, will find us pure and spotless and holy. V'imru. Josh, would you close?
Let God thank you for allowing us to meet here this Shabbat, Lord. Pray now as you take us home. You take us home safely, Lord. Help us to be ready and willing for your return, Lord. Pray now that you bless us on our way. In your name, pray. Amen.
So I'll stand for the blessing. You lift up your hands to heaven. Yivareka Adonai ve'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha, Yisharonai panav elecha ve'yosem lecha shalom. May Adonai bless you and keep you. May Adonai shine his face upon you and be gracious to you. May Adonai lift up his countenance upon you and give you his peace from Sarcha Shalom Yeshua Mashiach, from the Prince of Peace, Yeshua the Messiah. Be imu. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.